Okay, can you hear me? And see me? I think I see myself, so that should be good. Please send a message if you can hear me. Mic is on. Okay, cool. I don't know if you were late or that just took forever, but whatever. All right, let us do today. We're looking at creating a basic wrapper for a, I guess, just a web page inside an iOS app. I've been working with Flutter lately, and it's kind of reminded me how ridiculous our cross-platform solution is for mobile apps. It just takes a long time. The final bundle for a basic app is like 80 megabytes. And so this is an experiment I did a long time ago. And I'm just going to kind of recreate it and probably use it as the base for something. What that something is, TBD. We're just going to be looking at iOS today. And yeah, and I'll cover some question that I had on the Twitter, and we'll go from there. So to begin, I've got Xcode open, just do a new project, just making a brand new app. We'll just call this browser. Just can't call it browser wrapper. And I'm going to use Objective-C. My other complaint with Swift is probably unjustified and invalid, but I did happen to be using an iPhone 6 for a while, and Swift was not supported on it. And for what we're doing, we're loading something up in a browser, which is something that should have been supported since like the very first iPhone. So part of the goal here is something that's actually like properly like backwards compatible, even with like super old phones. So we just do that up, throw it in there is fine. And okay, so this auto generates all the stuff. If I hit play, that should just build the most basic app and launch it. I have this, I'm glad you said something I meant to mention. There is some ridiculous noise that's happening, and it's not mic feedback. Like that's happening in real life. And it just happened right there, and I don't know what it is. And so I apologize. Essentially, it's also driving me nuts. So hopefully it's not too bad. No, it's like welcome to my world. Like that is in the real world. That is not a mic feedback thing. And so if you see me slowly losing my marbles, it's because of that. I might have to move. Hold on, let me see. I'll be right back. Can I go in that room? There's like random like buzzing like scream happening. Okay, I'm gonna move rooms. Give me just a minute because I don't think I can stand it. It's just so distracting. Hello? Is this any better? Hello? Can you hear me okay? This seems to be coming through better, at least. There must be a huge delay on this compared to Twitch. This is very much not live. I am speaking. How is this? This is such a wonderful first live stream. Yes, there's a delay. Okay, but it sounds like you can hear me. Yes, I can hear you. Feedback, much better. Okay. Thank you for your patience. Well, I guess that was probably silent for my whole description here, so we'll just redo that, I guess. Um, so I was saying that we will. Oh no. Sorry. I was going to show how I use ChatGPT to kind of basically tell me how to do certain things because the documentation for building iOS apps, particularly, I found atrocious. With their split between Objective-C and Swift, it's just been a pain. So the first thing, I guess we can look at what Xcode gave us by default. So first you've got this like empty view controller. You've got main, it's just whatever their default stuff is. That's pretty much it. Honestly, don't know, but could roughly figure out what most of these things are. I think most of what we'll deal with is in the view controller. And so if I were to say how to add a web view to and I want it specifically in Objective-C, so we'll just say that. If I could spell that. Oh, interesting. Last time I did this, it gave me a much better presentation. Okay, how about the full code for the view controller? There we go. That's better. Sometimes you kind of have to coach it to give you what you actually want, which is interesting. IB outlet, also interesting, but whatever. So that's in the view controller.h. I'm also kind of surprised because it's just full on giving different things. View did load request. Outlet to the story mode. Huh, I think this one has just gone a little bit off the rails already. I don't think this is going to work as they've written it. Because we didn't actually initialize. Where is it? It's trying to load the request with this web view, but I don't think we initialized it. But let's try it. Yeah. Do you mean UI web view? I would need the import. That's probably the first problem. Well, it did build it, but it did not load anything. Which I'm pretty sure is because this web view is not actually added to the view. Oh yeah, this is somewhat fun. Isn't added to the view controller. Let's see what it does. Thinking. I probably need to start my question over from the start. Interesting. There we go. Okay. So this now I can bring in, and so we get the configuration object. And so like figuring this out, even if we looked at the documentation for this, here, this is the first documentation I would look at, and that should have all the answers I want. But nowhere in here from my memory, so creating WebView, you got this, and then you're like, okay, but give me the context for how to use this. I'm like, okay, well, init with frame, but then I've got to know how to use this. I've got to know how to create this, and then placing maybe this. Even though it's just like super unhelpful documentation. Just says words and links to things, but doesn't actually tell you how to use the thing. Anyway, so we add the subview to this guy. Because even like this, you wouldn't know how to do. Just so many problems. But of course, we still don't work. Why? Maybe this IB outlet. I don't think I had that last time. View, add subview. Make request. Let's take a peek at what I have attempted before. Init with frame self.view.frame. That seems the same. View, add subview. That's all looking mighty identical. If everything could go wrong on a single day, this is it. WebView, init with frame. Configuration, maybe we'll just ditch the configuration object. Still no dice. Is it failing to load because of the www? No. Okay, maybe it was. Okay, interesting. Is there a log that it's giving for that? You can tell I'm a total Xcode noob. I don't know how to find anything here, but I don't know why. By default, when I hit run, it's not just spitting out the logs of the application. But memory graph, I will probably just abort. This has just become a bashing Xcode session. Surely this is doesn't matter. Anyways, if we get the correct URL, we finally have a successful start. So that now loads our page, and that's a start. What I then wanted to do is we'll load up a local host page, because again, kind of the hypothetical future intent of this is that could use this to actually properly develop a native app, but the native app is essentially always the same wrapper, and the only thing you're changing is the URL you start with. It's questionable how much Apple's going to like that, but we'll test that out in a future episode. So I made, that's so cool. So here we'll throw in this guy. So I've got just like it's literally just an HTML file. We'll remove this for now and I'll bring it back. And if we change this now to load localhost 8080, we'll now see that page, hopefully, fingers crossed. I pointed it to the wrong place, of course. Static. The thing that's so weird about them is that like, oh, it can't just be a browser-based app that's wrapped, but then they still allow all capacitor apps, which is, I would argue, way worse because capacitor adds so much other garbage to the thing, and then you get this chonky app for no reason, when instead, I don't know how to test it right now, but like if I were to archive this app and actually release it, it should be under a megabyte because there's no code. The WebKit is like built into the phone's library by default. Like this should be the tiniest mobile app you've ever seen. Okay, so now I'm hopefully serving the correct thing. We start this up, and I still did not do the right thing. Surely I did. It might have just had left the old one running. I don't know what its problem is. There we go. Okay, wonderful. So this is now loading our page. But a problem that we get is I just made a change, and if I open up the app again, we still got this. And so for the actual like production application, that's fine, and is that fine? It's mostly fine, but essentially what I want to add is the ability to force refresh. Initially, for today, my main focus would just be, okay, I'm developing this thing and I just want a quick way to be able to reload the page. But say this were an actual deployed application, what you could do is, and I've done a previous video on building like a properly offline web app, you can make it so that the first page loads the whole thing, but because it's an offline app, it never loads a resource again after that. And so there you've essentially just like deployed an iOS app without needing to build through their own actual system. And then what you could do is you could have like a settings page where they could just say, oh, like please refresh the entire application, like to check for updates essentially. Um, so let's get back here to this guy. How can I add a refresh button to reload the view? Something like that. And I will save us some time because this is the exact advice it gave me last time, and it sucked. um, Again, this is my lack of knowledge of iOS, but essentially when I did this last time, I tried setting it up with this like navigation item stuff, but when I actually ran it, nothing showed up on the page. And so we'll take some of this code, but instead we will just ask for how to add a button to view controller. It's also interesting that it continues to understand that I'm working in Objective-C, which I think it was maybe like 3 or 4 years ago when I was building the original like Ngram Notes iOS app. It was so frustrating that every time I would Google something all of a sudden I'd find myself on an Objective-C page, and then I'd find myself on a Swift page, and then you're trying to like translate between the two, but you just can't really. This is significantly more enjoyable until it didn't really give me what I wanted at all. As I said that. Was I working on Chat 4 before? Because this is not going as well as I previously had. Anyways, we will just continue. So select the button, drag and drop. Oh, no, not from storyboard. Via code in view controller.m. That's better. So now we add the WebView, load request, and then we can add our button on top. That's interesting. It just tacked it here, interface view controller. I would put that here personally, but if you can just use it as a guide, you're still kind of better off, I would say. I think programmers just become gluers once this is good enough. Frame, make, subtitle, tap me. And then I want it to have just the refresh icon. Sad. I mean, not in all cases. When there's actual problems that have been unsolved, we will still need to solve them. But like adding a button to an iOS app is something that has hopefully been solved like 6,000 times. What hasn't been solved is creating a way to kind of query that information. So I actually think it's less like what's sad is how much time I have spent in the past to get this information. Like there are days that my previous like Ngram Notes app took me literally months to build, and it was a text box and a list of things that got added. When instead that should have just been like a, oh hey, I don't know how to do this, ask a question. I think this world is slightly better, to be honest. I hope at least. Let's see, add refresh icon to this button. And tap me image insets. Okay, you did way more than I wanted. Button with type. Refresh icon, set image refresh icon. Let's try just that. And we'll remove the tap me and see. See how we do. Did this get added? Added self button. Okay, nothing shows up. Wonderful. Let's bring back that tap me. Okay, so it is here. And we crash because I don't have a handler. Before we do the fix the refresh icon, let's make it actually useful. So here's button tapped is the function that we need. Let's see if I can actually write Objective-C. Hardly. So on tap, we want to call WebView. Objective-C functions are so confusing. Does it go in here? I think so. Reload. I think that is correct. Oh, look at me. I'm an iOS developer. So I hit, oh, okay, great. Unrecognized selector sent to instance. But tab, probably because I need this garbage. And here's just another example. I would have never known how to type that. Cool. So I didn't even realize that I had already made a change. But now tapping this button, if I make that change, I can come here and it just reloads and refreshes the whole thing. And so there's realistically, like, that's only like one step away from, I could pretty easily imagine you set up some kind of like socket or whatever, and then it just detects a change that's been made, pushes that back, and then it auto does it. But I personally don't even mind that much forcefully just coming in and being like, I know I made a change, reload, and then you know for sure that it's reloaded, and it's basically instant on the reload. So maybe let's attempt to figure out why this refresh icon did not go correctly. And maybe I will peek at this guy because I made it here. And target. It's probably just the icon itself was wrong. Undeclared identifier. Button. Self-top button. What? Image refresh icon. Oh, oops. This needs to be defined. Refresh. Where did you get defined? Refresh icon. Oh, I think that's just the old one. I have confused myself. Okay, go away. Oh, something has got royally messed up. Okay, that's slightly better. This can go away, and then I think we're okay. Cool. So that threw this little guy in there, and then we can just remove this text. And we have our guy. This is what's positioning it. I don't know, we can just sloppily do this, I guess, for now. Maybe have that, double that. Sure. So I'm curious, will it tell me? I can't even archive. Ugh. I wanted to see just how big this app is, but that's probably for another time. I'm surprised it doesn't let that happen. I need to select any iOS device. Oh, there you go. Okay. So let's say we archive this. Will that tell me how large it is? Download debug, no. What do I need for archiving? I mean, the only thing I changed was selecting any iOS device, whereas previously it was on my iPhone 14 Pro simulator. Oops, I didn't mean to click that. So I assume it just needs this selected. And then, where's that? I already lost that other page. Re-archive, there we go. Adamberg personal team. Let me see what happens here. I stopped paying for my subscription. There it is. Oh, yeah, that's where I understood. Yeah, I stopped paying for my developer account. And so that's why that shows. Mostly what I wanted to see was how big it is, and I would have thought that would have shown here. No. Okay, how about this? How to see size of this app archive. Products folder in the project navigator. I feel like that's not correct at all. Yeah, it's not helpful. Okay, we will just ignore. Um, I'm probably going to resurface this one in the future, but apparently I'm going to need to renew my subscription in order to actually deploy an app. But you can bet I am going to attempt to submit an app like this and see what Apple says. So when I do that, I will share my results. Okay, so we have this guy here, this little demo app. I had a question from, where even is it? Notifications. This guy. Any ideas how I could take a single component from an outside project repo, create some dist version of it that could be copied into another repo and not have to worry about dependencies? Thinking like a yarn build, but just for one small piece. So this one I haven't tried, so we're just gonna kind of be winging this on the fly. But let's imagine we have some kind of external project here, and in it we've got whatever source, we've got some like components folder. Use your imagination that this is much larger than it actually is, and we'll call this some external component. Can't do even.js. We'll make TypeScript, whatever. So I'm gonna assume, which could be a wrong assumption, that it's gonna be a React component. Should be applicable to anything else anyways. So you'd have something like blah, and then you'd have export external. I haven't written React in so long, so probably do something wrong here. Oh, TSX. Oops. External component. You're probably complaining because I don't have React types. Yes, but that is okay. Let's even just say JSX so it quiets down. I find this even easier. Okay, so now let's just say, I mean, this is already a dependency, but this will have a different problem where, say we bundled this and we wanted to include it in our own other app, then we would be double including React. So we'll solve that problem, but we have kind of another one. Let's say we have, oh, that's another folder. We have like a math utils JS, and then here export function add one num2 num1 plus num2, and okay, so now we need, so this is the external thing that we're going to deal with. Let's just put that aside for now, and then let's create what is our actual project, and we'll bring these guys in. Okay, so would just be a fully separate thing altogether. I'm just dealing with it in one workspace to make it easier to see everything. So now let's say we have a source here. Let's see if I can correctly get a React app bootstrapped. This is a nice test I do for myself every now and then. We'll put it in app.js, sure. Okay, and then here, I'm probably going to have to Google this. But I also need to add both of those. Render, is that the one? Element, and then const root equals document, oops. Let's see how we do. Oh no. Render element, that's the React element, and then the container is the root. So I think it's reversed perhaps. So possibly we could do, oh no, that's cheating. H1. Okay, I think that should work. So then if I bring in ES build, and we do ES build source index.jsx, out file equals static slash app.js. Probably missing something there, like a dash dash bundle. Perfect. So that's left it there. This should load that. If we do HTTP server, that guy, open this guy. Perfect. So that loaded that up, and that seems to be is no longer supported. That's fine. It's React. Good enough. So now we want to take this guy. I don't know what the use case is for this, so I'm just answering a question. But let's hop over in here and I mean, it depends on like whether you're going to need to be like updating this consistently or not, but let's just say that you needed to do it once or not super often. So from inside this external folder, if you use bundler components, point it to the component you want, bundle, and then out file, let's call it external disk.js. Start with that, see what happens. I could not resolve React. Okay, so this is going to introduce a couple things. Just make a package. Yeah, sure. Okay, and then we run the same guy. Now we created this. The problem, which I mentioned earlier, is it's going to have all the React stuff. And so if we were to just dump this in here, we're now going to have two conflicting versions of React. So I think what we can do is use external. How up to date is ChatGPT? How to use external with ES build CLI. That's not the CLI. What this looks so sorry for confusion. That's cute. That's fun. Okay, so we could throw this guy in there. And cool, so before it was 76 kilobytes. Now we've got the 1.6, and if we take a peek at it, we see hopefully what you'd like to see. So you still get these like helper transpiler things or whatever. Require React. This, who uses a .default create element? Yeah. Okay. So this should just require it the normal way, which when we rebundle in the new project should work. And so source dist, I want to put it top. It should be in here. I would suggest we put this. Let me think about options. Function external component. Does it get, what's the word, exported? It does. It's called. I guess let's just see what happens. So let's say I bring that file in here and do an import external component from external dist. I have no idea how this is gonna go. Does it make it hard to code when you're only using 86%? Not really, because like if well, you've got a double actually 86%. So here I've left space because of the chat. But then inside here, because of the aspect ratio of the Mac screen, I've left this chunk off, so it's kind of like even less space. Um, if I made that bigger, yeah, if I made that bigger, it would just cut this off. But no, I don't actually find that it bothers me too much. If this were wider, it's just empty space. If anything, I prefer quietness when I'm coding. Just what am I working on? Let's see if this works, I guess. I don't think it will, but I don't know what problem we're gonna get. Okay, so we bundled okay. Dynamic require of React is not supported. Wonderful. What I kind of would have expected is from here importing this guy. When we rebundle this one, I would have expected that it picks this up. But the fact that it uses this, require new proxy get blah 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 required to apply. I feel like ESBuild cannot unpick up what it's doing. I have a feeling that's going to be a problem. Let's build bundle component for use in other project. I don't even need it to be ESBuild, but okay. Blah, 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 blah. Just so much skimming that needs to be done. Okay, is this just gonna be a regular bundle? I feel like that's going to be the case. It's definitely what's happening here. Okay, that was not what I was hoping for. Bundle React component for use in other project. I mean, I do feel like NPM is probably going to end up being an easier option. I think this is going to be one of those cases where I don't come to a useful answer. Blah, 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 blah. External. Are there other options for external? I could possibly change the output type and see how that does. JS bundle. I'm really surprised that this require doesn't work on the second bundle level. Port. Tried to run it. Okay, let's not make it external. Let's see what happens if you have two Reacts. Oops. Also wrong. This guy. Okay, and then replace this guy. I don't want a copy. I want a new one altogether, please. And 1.1 megabytes. And as expected, dynamic require React is not supported. Element type is invalid expected. A string for built-in components, blah, 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 but got object. You likely forgot to export your component. Yep. So that's seeming like a problem with this guy here. So I have a feeling the way this is getting imported is not very interesting. Can I do this? We can just change this output to be working external /project source. Just double check this goes to the right place. Perfect. And rerun that build. you complain, import will always be undefined because the file has no exports. If exports. You have to import an object from the module and set the object on window. Okay, let's just explore this, as weird as it is. Let's say we had that, and then we bundle that, and then we're really not using that anymore. We're just adding it. Okay, so then we could instead load it in here. Source equals external dist.js. This might work. Probably load that one first so that it can exist here. And then we'll change this guy to put it in the static folder. Cool, so now it's here, which will load it here. And we can move this. And instead of this, we try, this is so weird. Out of curiosity. Oh, I kind of didn't expect that to work, to be honest, but it did, and that feels pretty neat. Okay, I didn't explain that because I didn't think it was going to work. So what we did, it's probably easier to slap this guy in. I guess here is fine, even though it's not really correct. So we're essentially we're bundling this component as our entry point, bundle, and we outfile. So more realistically, I would guess you could just have this pipe into some dist folder to generate your thing. So then if I do an npm run build in the external folder, it creates this dist folder, generates this guy. And now, oh, interesting. So now it still has the double react. So let's see if we can fix the double react. Oh, we're still gonna have problems with that, I think. Oh, that's kind of annoying. External react. Let's find out. This will likely fail. Yeah. Okay, so we leave the react in, but it ends up being questionably okay. Like you'll bring it in twice, but this react will only apply to this component. If we minify it, it shouldn't be that bad, 7.2 kilobytes. And then this, and there we go. Okay. So I'm going to say that that answers the question. For now, I'd need more context as to like the intended use case. I can possibly guess a little bit, but I think this technically achieves that goal. So let's leave that at that. Just for fun now, we should be able to confirm. Build a link, get out of here. Okay. I know I actually spent more time not on what the main topic was here. I didn't think it would take that long, to be honest. So bring this back, refresh, and we can now see that this is loading that React component. So there's a gigantic tangent, but that does show that we can build an actual React app in here. The final really annoying thing that I wanted to kind of show is how to remove that little draggy annoyingness. It's hard to code when I'm only using 14% of my brain. Is that because you only can see? You're in here. You're in this space. um, where was I? So here, I wanted to remove that silly little scroll, which I believe can be done. So first, you get just whatever overflow hidden. But the problem is, oh, that did work. I've had that not work in the past. Okay, well, there you go. There you have it. So now you could use that and create what feels like a truly native app, but really it's just a browser behind it all. Some things I'd like to explore with that is what I mentioned earlier on about um, can offline apps correctly be offline even though it's a WebKit view? I'm pretty sure the answer should be yes. Um, the to do an offline app, you're essentially relying on the browsers. What's the main one? I guess A, kind of like the service worker, which will allow you to cache the actual resource requests itself, which should absolutely still be available here. And then you just need to make sure that once you have fetched it once, it continues to use that for forever. And so basically, this would allow you to create your App Store app, but it's really just a shell of an app. And then instead of updates requiring a change to the App Store, all it would require is for your user to hit the reload button. And I would assume that Apple doesn't watch my videos, so if they have a problem with that auto refreshing, maybe we just add a little hidden way that you refresh the thing inside of the app. What they don't know doesn't hurt them. If they reject this app, you bet this is not the app. They better reject this app. But I'll make a functional app and I would love to see what their response is on the submission. And if they don't like it, you bet I will be complaining. So I think that probably concludes what I would like to go over today. In terms of Hammer stuff, the last stream helped me realize that it's both there and then there's a gigantic iceberg beneath that space. And so I'm still thinking about a few things in that realm, but I will share that when I make progress. Yeah, this YouTube Live was not so bad once I actually got started. The delay is significantly more than Twitch, which is a little bit annoying. But out of curiosity, yeah, no, that's fine. So I'll have a look and see whether random people stumbled in. That was also kind of what I was curious about. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Probably not a stream next Thursday, but then I will be back in a routine after that. Thank you for joining. I know only one person is here, but if you have questions, shoot me questions, and maybe they'll get included. Thank you. Goodbye.